Hey everybody, let's talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi, because holy cow, this show was just all kinds of cool. I had so much fun watching every episode and, staying up late on Tuesday so I can see it early Wednesday morning, and man, I had so much fun. I loved this show. It was so great. So basically, what this show is about is it takes place 10 years after episode 3. And in that 10 years, Obi-Wan has been sitting around on Tatooine basically doing nothing. He hasn't activated his lightsaber in 10 years. He hasn't used the Force in any meaningful capacity in 10 years. He's just here. And nobody wants him here either. That's what's really sad for him is that even Owen and Beru, the people that Obi-Wan trusted with the care of Anakin's child Luke, they don't want him there. They are very loud about not wanting Obi-Wan there. Suddenly, Obi-Wan gets a message from the Senator Organa of Alderaan. Hey, how are you? So, you remember how Anakin and Padme, they both had 2 kids? Well, of course they both had 2 kids. It was together, alright? And how we sent the boy off to some desert wasteland, and we kept the girl and gave her a life of royalty and stuff, and yeah, well, that girl, Leia, yeah, she's totally been kidnapped by bounty hunters and assassins, and we need to go pick her up. So if you wouldn't mind getting off that desert rock that you've been sitting in and go grab her, that'd be great. And Obi-Wan is really hesitant because, he hasn't gone into action. He hasn't done anything for 10 years, and he doesn't want to get caught, but he does want to save Leia, so he goes out there and finds her and tries to bring her back, all the while dodging different Inquisitors who are specifically trying to hunt Jedi, and Darth Vader himself. The series is fantastic. I love it. It was well written. I didn't find any plot holes that really bothered me too much about it. So, if you haven't seen it, definitely go see it. And I say that now because I want to talk about spoiler stuff. So, if you don't want to get spoiled, just go watch the show and then come back and we can talk more about it because we have stuff to talk about. If you have seen it, let's just keep watching. The story. I love the story. As far as how it fits into the grand scheme of Star Wars, the story is fun and I love it, but also doesn't make a whole lot of sense with the timeline. Because, what we've essentially done is we've taken the time from the last time Anakin and Obi-Wan have met to about half of the time that it initially was. It used to be close to 20 years. Now it's 8 years since they've met. So it's that's fun. I'm okay with breaking Star Wars canon if we get a really good story out of it. It's just that we did indeed break Star Wars canon in order to get this story. So that's a thing to consider. If that's something that bothers you, then it bothers you. But it doesn't bother me. I think it's just fine. I think it works really well. And what we got is good enough for me to excuse it. Now, you know what makes this so great? It's the characters. Let's talk about some of these characters here. Obi-Wan. Wow. That was a really cool character, really cool story. So Obi-Wan's whole conflict is that he hasn't done any Jedi work for 10 years because, quite frankly, he's afraid to. He's afraid to get caught by the Inquisitors. He's afraid that he's going to fail as a Jedi again because he sees Anakin's turn to the dark side as his failure. So, his story is having to overcome that, and he eventually does. By the time we see his second fight with Darth Vader at the end of the 6th episode, it's whoa. He came back, and it was really, really cool to see. And so, Obi-Wan's story is really solid. There's a definite arc, and he followed that arc, and there were fun surprises and detours along the way, and it was great. I had a lot of fun with him. Now, the character that really stole the show, every time he showed up, he stole the show with his performance, and that is Darth Vader. First of all, the combination of Hayden Christensen and James Earl Jones just feels good. It feels good to see. It's fun to watch, and it's fun. He's so good. I also noticed that Hayden Christensen mentioned that before he hopped onto set, he watched the entirety of Clone Wars and Rebels to kind of see where his character has been in the time that he's been gone. And it's subtle. But I was specifically looking for that, and I specifically did find points where you could tell Hayden Christensen brought in a little bit of Clone Wars Anakin to his presentation of the character. So it was really nice to see Hayden Christensen kind of acknowledge that, like, Anakin Skywalker isn't in the same place that he was when Hayden Christensen last left him. He's grown, he's evolved, and rather than going back to old patterns, Hayden did consider this, and he expanded Anakin Skywalker beyond what he even did himself. And that was really cool to see. Really great. Hayden Christensen just rocks. He took the show, and I really, really, really hope that we find ways to bring him back to the franchise in the future. I hope we get to see more of Hayden Christensen. I really want to. Now, the next character that I want to talk about, Princess Leia. And there's a point in Princess Leia where I also kind of want to talk about Luke Skywalker for a little bit, because we don't see a lot of Luke Skywalker. We see a little bit. But what we see of Luke is really significant, and it ties in a lot to some of my thoughts with Leia. This is one of the few times outside of, like, comics and novels, even within novels, this is one of the handful of times where we get to see these characters written and characterized post prequel trilogies, and I guess post sequel trilogy too. But that's significant because while Anakin Skywalker initially had to be written so that you could see characteristics of him in Luke and Leia, this time we actually got to see characteristics of Anakin in Luke and Leia, like, organically. Like, we see them as his children. We see them take on specific traits of Anakin that, like, a child would take from their parents. And it was really neat. We get to see Luke Skywalker, like, flying or, like, pretending to fly. We get to see him tinkering with mechanics and with machines. And it's like, that right there. He has a lot of Anakin Skywalker in him. Which they did mention in episode 4, but now we actually get to kind of, like, see it. And the same thing happened with Leia. Leia has a very prominent role in the series. And we got to see not just a lot of Anakin Skywalker in her, we get to see a lot of Padme as well. And they mentioned this. They talk about this a few points throughout the series. And wow! Like, the way they portrayed Leia is just fantastic. And that young actress they got to portray her, she did a fantastic job. Usually child actors are kind of hit and miss. This is one that really landed well. She did a great job, and I loved it. And you know what? I kind of want to see more of her in the future too. It felt good. This felt like this whole series really just felt like a good between point between the prequels and the original trilogy. It bridged that gap really, really well. The big bad guy of the series, outside of Darth Vader, of course, is an Inquisitor named Reva, who is the... what is she? The Seventh Sister? I don't know. I'll put it somewhere here. Anyway, so she is an Inquisitor, basically hired by Emperor Sidious and Darth Vader to go out and hunt Jedi. That's her whole job. And she specifically wants to hunt down Obi-Wan Kenobi. And the reason she wants to do that is really fascinating. Seriously, I'm going to spoil this series for you. Please go watch it. I'm spoiling it now. She wants to hunt down Anakin Skywalker and kill Darth Vader because she was one of the younglings that was killed off She wasn't killed off, I guess. I guess she survived. But she was one of the younglings that was attacked in the Jedi Temple during Order 66. She was attacked specifically by Anakin. Which, holy cow. I didn't think we'd actually end up seeing it at any point, but we see Anakin raid the Jedi Temple. We see him kill the younglings. They give a warning at the beginning of several episodes saying, hey, seriously, this could become disturbing to certain viewers in this fictional series, so careful. Yeah, seriously, be careful. They don't pull a whole lot of punches. But Reva's story, she's really good, and the actress who played her, really good as well. Like, that was the biggest thing here. This series was really good, and it was really good because the characters really supported it very well. And the characters were supported well because the actors understood their characters and put their heart and soul into making sure their character story arc was filled throughout the series. Reva ends up living by the end of it, and she ends up, quitting the dark side, quitting being an Inquisitor. I really, really, really want to see what happens to her next. We don't see her in Rebels. We don't see her anywhere in the original trilogy, or at least I don't think so. Maybe they'll try to write her into the Rebel Alliance at some point. But I really want to see what happens to her. I want to see, if she tries to be more Jedi, if she ends up encountering the Inquisitors again. I don't know. There's a lot of potential there. And then the Larses. Those are the last ones I really wanted to touch on. All the characters throughout the thing were really cool, but the Larses, Owen and Aunt Beru. I never thought that they were super cool, but now I do. Holy cow, they're so great. They ended up holding their own against, albeit extremely injured Inquisitor, to save Luke. They care about Luke. I didn't get that much of an impression the last time we saw them. Mostly that they were afraid of what would happen to Luke if he ever left. But I feel like they actually care about Luke this time, and that was nice to see. That was a great characterization. Favorite moments of the series. Let's talk about some of my favorite moments. First of all, Vader is a big, scary guy. Every time Darth Vader did something, I'm like, whoa, holy cow, this is scary. When he's marching through that town, trying to scare Obi-Wan and succeeding very well. Just pushing the citizens of that town aside and throwing people around, and it's like, whoa, hold on, wow. And then when he's fighting Reva, just toying with her, just using the Force, throwing her lightsaber around, and just, wow. Darth Vader is really cool. We knew that he was scary in the original trilogy. One of the best things Disney ever did for Star Wars is they show just how scary Darth Vader is. Every time Darth Vader shows up in something, he is frightening. And I love it. And all of that culminates in my favorite moment, which was that last lightsaber battle. Not only was that last lightsaber battle emotionally complex between two characters that had a lot of feelings and emotions and ideas flying around, but this is one of the only times we've seen a lightsaber fight where the Force was actually utilized as a combative tool. Every time we see a lightsaber fight, it always seems to be just swinging swords around, or we use the Force. We never see them at the same time, but this time we do. And holy cow, it was neat. Just seeing how bombastic these battles got. I have heard complaints before that Obi-Wan shouldn't be as powerful in the Force as he is, but I think we're forgetting, not only was Obi-Wan a Jedi Master, but he was a Jedi Master apparently good enough to be on the Jedi Council. He's fantastic. He is skilled. He knows what he's doing. And we actually got to see that this time, and it was fantastic. Granted, this means that the fight in Episode 4 between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, that just gets lamer and lamer every time we see either of these characters do anything. But that doesn't matter, because this fight was just really neat, and it was my favorite moment of the series. Just seeing the raw emotional power between the characters as well as the combative power and the choreography and the really cool force effects that made this fight really work for me. Now, continuations. Can I see a season 2 of Obi-Wan? I guess I can see how they can make it happen. We could say he is working with Qui-Gon Jinn, he's learning through the Force, he's going to become more powerful. Is there any reason to make a second season? I don't think so. Because I don't want to see these characters leave the point where they're at. Where they're at is really great, and it leads well into episode 4, and that's fantastic. But I don't want to necessarily see another meeting between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. 8 years is already kind of pushing it for me. If we start saying that, like, they've met 4 years prior to episode 4, or if they met 2 years prior to episode 4, it kind of takes away from the impact more and more and more of when they do eventually meet again. And Leia was left in a really good place. I don't think we need to get her kidnapped again. I don't think we need to see the senators kidnapped again. I mean, we also know that nothing happens to Luke. Like, he specifically talks about how nothing happens while he's on Tatooine. I want to keep it that way. So, while I could see how they could make a season 2, and if they just focused on Obi-Wan and he goes off and does, like, Jedi saving adventures for a few more episodes, that's a thing. But I kind of don't want to see that. I would like to see more flashbacks. I'd like to see Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor together again, because that's just fantastic and they were great together. But outside of that, I don't see a continuation. But I'd like to hear what you guys think. Do you want to see a season 2 of Obi-Wan? What did you think of this first season? What was your favorite part? Also, what's your favorite zoo animal? That's an interesting question. That's an interesting get to know you question. So let me know all of that in the comments below, and until next time, thank you for joining me. Have a great day. Remember to always be your best self.